Welcome, friends. Today's talk is on cycles, which gives us a snapshot of part of the vast world of nature as we always have seen it before us. We see it every day, as the masters of wisdom have recorded since the night of time, and as H.P. Blavatsky, as their messenger, presented to the world in the 19th century as Theosoophy. HPB always said that none of what she wrote was hers. It was always a recording from the masters of record, and the only thing that was hers was the ribbon which she used to put the information together. Her key books were First Isis Unveiled and The Secret Doctrine, and all the other books behind me are based on those two. William Hugh Judge was her staunch colleague, and Robert Crosby brought the message back to the original lines. As we all know, in every presentation, every religion and so forth tends to lose its original writings and meanings as time goes by. So we have the original stuff here. Next week's talk is on reincarnation, another snapshot. We're going to have a reading from the Voice of the Silence, and that will be followed by the talk.
Voice of the Silence. Thou canst create this day thy chances for thy morrow. In the great journey, causes sown each hour bear each its harvest of effects, for rigid justice rules the world. With mighty sweep of never-erring action, it brings to mortals lives of weal or woe, the karmic progeny of all our former thoughts and deeds. Take then as much as merit hath in store for thee, O thou of patient heart. Be of good cheer, and rest content with fate. Such is thy karma, the karma of the cycle of thy births, the destiny of those who, in their pain and sorrow, are born along with thee. Rejoice and weep from life to life, chained to thy previous actions. Act thou for them today, and they will act for thee tomorrow. It is from the bud of renunciation of self that springeth the sweet fruit of final liberation. To perish doomed is he who out of fear of Mara refrains from helping man, lest he should act for self. The pilgrim who would cool his weary limbs in running waters, yet dares not plunge for terror of the stream, risks to succumb from heat. Inaction based on selfish fear can bear but evil fruit. The selfish devotee lives to no purpose. The man who does not go through his appointed work in life has lived in vain. Follow the wheel of life. Follow the wheel of duty to race and kin, to friend and foe, and close thy mind to pleasures as to pain. Exhaust the law of karmic retribution. Gain siddhis for thy future birth. And now, today's talk cycle.
Good morning, friends and associates of the UL team. At the end of the lecture and discussion, comments and questions, I'll be referring to you to the reference for further reading. A cycle is a ring or return. The Sanskrit words are Yuga, Kalpa, and Manvantra, and we will be referring to this as we go along in explaining this to you. The cycle is a law and goes hand in hand with the laws of karma and reincarnation. Both work together. Cycle is a very old term used in the far past. In our civilization, it is applied to a doctrine which is not very well understood, but which is accepted by many great scientific men, a great many religious men, and a great many thinking men. The theory is, as held by the ancient Egyptians, that there is a cycle, a law of cycles which governs humanity, governs the earth, and governs all that it is in the universe. That there is a great cycle, which begins when the unknown breathes forth the whole universe, and ends when it is turned in again into itself. That is the great cycle. The great cycle is called sometimes the Manvantra and Pralaya. Not sometimes, it is the Manvantra and Pralaya. Manvantra being the world of manifestation, and Pralaya the rest. It is in itself another cycle. And we'll touch the great cycle in detail further on. In the Egyptian monuments, papyri, and other records, the cycles are spoken of. They held, and the ancient Chinese also held, that the great cycle governs the earth, called the sidereal cycle because it is related to the stars. The work was so large that it had to be measured by the stars, and that cycle is 25,800 and odd years long. They claim to have measured this enormous cycle. The Egyptians gave evidence that they had measured it also and had measured many others. So that in these ancient records, looking at the question of cycles, we have a hint that man has been living on the earth, has been civilized and uncivilized for more years than we have been taught to believe. The ancient Theosophists have always held that civilization with humanity went around the earth in cycles, in rings, returning again and again upon itself, but at each turn of the cycle, on the point of return, it was higher than before, never returning to the same point, but in a higher realm. Now that the law of cycles does prevail in the world, must be very evident if you will reflect for a few moments. Some are very familiar to us. A daily cycle is when the sun rises, we begin our day. When the sun sets down, we end our day, but a complete day and night make one cycle. And so it repeats to make the monthly cycles, and the moon marks the month every 28 days. We're also familiar with the yearly cycles and the seasons, and also another cycle of the sun orbiting the Milky Way, which takes 230 million years to orbit the Milky Way and return to the point where it started. We may say then that this is another great cycle. It appears reasonable that as the sun is moving through that great cycle, he must draw the earth into spaces and places and points in space where the earth has never been before, and that it must happen that the earth shall come now and then into some place where the conditions are different, and that it may be changed in a moment, as it were for the eye of the soul. 1,000 years are but a moment when everything will be different. The beginning of the cycle is marked by a moment, and a moment means a set of vibrations, or one vibration. We also hold that the earth is governed by cyclic law throughout the century as in a moment, that the beings upon it are never in the same state. So nations, races, civilizations Communities are all governed in the same way and moved by the same law. This law of cycles is the law of reincarnation that we were speaking of today. That is that a man comes into the world and lives a day, his life is as a day, he dies out of it and goes to sleep, elsewhere waking. Then he sleeps there to wake again the next great day. This is referring also to reincarnation, rest period, and then re-embodiment for a new, to start a new reincarnation. After a period of rest, he again enters life. That is his cycle. We hold in Theosophical philosophy that it's been proven by the adepts, by experiment, that men in general awake from this period of rest after 1500 years. That's an average. Every 15, so men spends 1500 years in Devachan or Devakan, and returning again to to start a new cycle. So we point in history to an historical cycle of 1500 years, after which old ideas return. And if you go back in history of the world, you will find civilizations repeating itself after 1500 years. That is to say, go back 1500 years from now, and you'll find coming out here now the theosophists, philosophers, various thinkers, inventors of 1500 years ago. And going further back, still we hold that those ancient Egyptians who made such enormous pyramids and who had a civilization we cannot understand, and that dim period when they burst on the horizon of humanity to fall again, have had their cycle of rest and are reincarnating again, even in America. So we think, some of us, that the American people of the new generation are a reincarnation of the ancient Egyptians, who are coming back and bringing forth in this civilization all the wonderful ideas which the Egyptians held. And that is one reason why this country is destined to be a great one, because the ancients are coming back. They're here, and you're very foolish if you refuse to consider yourself so great. The next cycle is that of civilizations. Some civilizations are gone, and apparently there's no bridge between many of these. Heredity, as some people claim, explains everything, but that's not how it's explained, why the Egyptians left no string to connect them with the present. There is nothing left of them but the Copts, who are poor, miserable slaves. The Egyptians as a material race are wiped out, and it is so because it is according to the law of cycles and according to the law of nature that the physical embodiment of the Egyptians had to be wiped out. But their souls could not go out of existence, and we know that. Such as the ancient, and so we find their civilizations and other civilizations disappearing. Civilizations such as the ancient civilization of Babylon and all those old civilizations in that part of the East, we were just as strange and wonderful as any other. And this civilization of ours has come up instead of going down. Also, religions had their cycles. The Christian religion has had its cycle. It began in the first year of the Christian era, and was a very different thing then from what it is now. If you examine the records of Christianity itself, you will see that the early fathers and teachers taught differently. Another cycle is the cycle of avatars. The cycle of avatars includes several smaller ones. The greatest are those marked by the appearance of Rama and Krishna among the Hindus, of Menes among the Egyptians, Zoroaster among the Persians, and of Buddha and the Hindus and other nations of the East. Buddha is the last of the great avatars, and it is in a larger cycle than is Jesus of the Jews. For the teachings of Jesus are the same as those of Buddha, and tinctured with what Buddha has taught to those who instructed Jesus. Another great avatar is yet to come, corresponding to the Buddha and Krishna combined. Also, diseases come in cycles. I think we all know that. I'm not going to elaborate on that. In regards to great cataclysms occurring at the beginning and ending of great cycles, the main laws governing the effects are those of karma and re-embodiment or reincarnation, proceeding under cyclic rule. Not only is man ruled by these laws, but every atom of matter as well. And the mass of matter is constantly undergoing a change at the same time with men. It must therefore exhibit alterations corresponding to those through which the thinker is going. On the physical plane, effects are brought out through the electrical and other fluids acting with the gases and the solids of the globe. At the change of every great cycle, they reach what may be termed the exploding point and cause violent convulsions of the following classes: earthquakes, floods, fire, and ice. I think we're familiar with the ice ages. There were 5 ice ages so far.
Flip it over for a minute.
Take it off.
This is good.
We'll talk now about the great cycle, which affects us all. We're all in it, nothing is separate. All the cycles are within the great cycle. As the Sanskrit word for cycle is Yuga, Kalpa, and Manvantra. For us to understand it better, Yuga is the most approximate to the word cycle in English. And every cycle is marked by a beginning, a moment. And a moment is a vibration. There are 4 cycles in a Mahayuga: Krita Yuga, Tetra Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. We are now in the Kali Yuga. Taking out this glove, since we are concerned with no other, its government and evolution proceed under Manu or man, and from this is the term Manvantra, between 2 Manus. The course of evolution is divided into 4 yugas for every race in its own time and way. These yugas do not affect all mankind at one and at the same time, as some races are in one of the yugas while others are in a different cycle. These 4 yugas are Krita or Satya, the golden, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali or the black. The present age for the West and India is Kali Yuga, especially in respect to moral and spiritual development. The first of these, the Krita, is slow in comparison with the rest, and the present Kali is very rapid, its motion being accelerated precisely like certain astronomical periods known today in regard to the moon, but not fully worked out. And you can see here the length in time of all the yugas, and this is the these 4 yugas make Maha, is the sum total of the 4 preceding yugas. 71 Mahas, 71 of this, make 14 Manus. And 14 Manus is this amount, and that's a day of Brahma. And 1,000 Mahayugas, this is 1 billion, billion, 4 billion, roughly, rounding up. A day and night of Brahma, 8 billion, and 360 of these days, which is like 1 year to compare 360 or 1 year, is Brahma's year, or 3 trillion. 100 years make this amount. This is Brahma's life. In Theosophical doctrine, manifestation comes when Brahma breathes out the world or the universe into existence, and when the breath goes in, back in, it's the end of the manifestation. This is the amount given by the masters. This is Brahma's life. This, of course, is just a cycle to begin again. There's one interesting thing here. I'll read again these yugas because it's important. Kali Yuga has 1 million. I'm not going to read the complete numbers, just an approximation. 1 million years. Treta, another million. Dwapara, 864,432 for Kali Yuga, and that makes a total of 4 million. What's interesting is that the addition of these numbers, addition 1 plus 7 plus 2 plus 8 gives 18. Same here, 1 plus 2 plus 9 plus 6 gives 18. 864, 18. But this is 9, and this is another 9. So if you add these together, the total on Kali is another 18. And in the article, a William Q. Judge article, there's a lengthy explanation. I don't want to confuse you, giving you the mathematical functions of how they reach to this number, because it goes beyond here, several multiplications that I'll give you the reference to that. But 18 is a number that you can find in Bhagavad Gita. 18 is the number for Krishna, and the Bhagavad Gita contains 18 chapters. Let's see. Okay. Just to give you a hint of where I'm getting those numbers and how more calculations can be done to reach to those to the same number of 18. It says the digits of Satya 1728 added together make 18. I'm not going to read the rest, but then okay. If the 3 18s and 1 9 found as above, then added together, the result will be 63. And 3 times 6 equals 18. And if added, make 9. And 18 added gives 9. If we multiply the 3 18s and 9 produced from the different ages, we get 5832, which if treated as before gives 18. And so on, get more multiplications and fractions, and so 18 is I'm not going to say mysterious, because the masters know. We have to see it as like there's meaning in everything. This is not like casual numbers. The first 5,000 years of Kali Yuga will end between the years 1897 and 1898. So add another 100 years, 120 years to that, we're still in the 5,000s, 5,100, 5,200 of the Kali Yuga spent. So we have 428 something. This Yuga began about 3102 years before the Christian era, at the time of Krishna's death. As 1897-98 are not far off, the scientific men of today will have an opportunity of seeing whether the close of the 5,000-year cycle will be preceded or followed by any convulsions or great changes, political, scientific or physical, or all of these combined. Cyclic changes are now proceeding, as year after year the souls from prior civilizations are being incarnated in this period, when liberty of thought and action are not so restricted in the West, as they have been in the past by dogmatic religious prejudice and bigotry. And at the present time, we are in a cycle of transition, when, as a transition period should indicate, everything in philosophy, religion, and society is changing. In a transition period, the full and complete figures and rules respecting cycles are not given out to a generation which elevates money above all thoughts and scoffs up at the spiritual view of man and nature. With that, I'll open for questions. I'll open the floor for questions and comments, highlights, things that resonate with you or do not resonate with you. Yes.
So then, since we are in Kali Yuga and we have over 400,000 years of it left, but that doesn't mean that Kali Yuga has to last that long. Does it not depend on humanity and how it behaves towards these higher principles of nature that also exist in us? If we move towards that side of our nature, what is stopping the Krita or Golden Age arising amongst a minority? Because HPB always says that if you look at historical facts, it's always small groups of brilliant minds and people internally active to their inner life that start these movements, and then when it becomes generalized, it's accepted by the majority, and then it moves whole of humanity forward.
I don't have the answer, and I don't know if in the philosophy is the answer to your first part of the comment, that if we need to spend all the time of Kali Yuga or not. I don't have that answer to you. But what you said about minds put together for the benefit of society don't have to be like in great numbers. I agree with you that small, well-minded people with good intentions, small groups, can do a lot and produce change. And we're seeing in different parts of our society, and I cannot speak for the East, only for the West, that I'm seeing. I follow the news, and I see that like the ones who want to produce change or start with one person with good intentions, and it spreads. I see another hand raising there. Maybe he has an answer for you.
My take on that is, the way you presented it, it was pretty fixed. But it's just, even if that's correct, this is just a fixed number. And it doesn't talk about how we affect this moment of time. You started with a moment in time.
Mm.
That's where we're at, that moment in time. I think it's very important to understand the bigger picture that you presented. These numbers got so big I can't get my head around them right down here. I don't think many people can. But it really makes a difference in terms of the way we act and the way we, carry on with our lives as to how much we're going to get out of each cycle. And we're talking about this age of Kali Yuga being a very quick age, and we have these opportunities because there's so much trash going on, these opportunities to make a real difference. But as we make those differences, the next stage will be either better or perhaps even worse. At least the short-term cycles could get worse if we don't take care of the moment in time that we're in now.
Yes, as there are smaller cycles within a larger cycle, and then it goes on. And then to this student gives me hope that whatever great minds are coming and reincarnating in this time now, they're bringing ideas of the past which worked. Of course, they're not going to be in the same. And remember that at the beginning I said that a cycle is a ring or return, but it never goes back to where you started. It goes a little bit up, better. I see that as an evolution of things. And the moment you spoke of is set by vibration. And we know that vibrations spread, they're electromagnetic, so it's sort of like a spark. And to me, this philosophy brings hope to humanity.
Absolutely.
And
The doctrine of hope and responsibility.
well, yes, that's where it comes karma, the law of karma, which is why the cyclic law is in conjunction with karma and reincarnation. They work together.
But
And
it's hard to because we're talking about such a massive number of years or whatever. That moment in time is what this student tries to focus on anyway. Not worry too much about what's out there. Try to become more impersonal with each breath, and try to get it right next time, and so forth. Not worry about what happened in the past, except to try to learn from it.
yeah, it says that.
Also, when we go, within these cycles you talk about, on the whole we go up each time, but in the short term, sometimes it looks like we're regressing, and I think that's basically to try to teach us some lessons.
Well, I think we all heard that history repeats itself, and this is exactly not in contradiction with what we are listening today. If we believe that history repeats itself, it's just the cyclic law in action. Yes.
Do you mind explaining kind of just a quick general definition of Brahma for people who haven't studied Hinduism, and and then also just kind of a thought is I like the idea of the day and the night of Brahma, like how the universe is accelerating, like we know that scientifically.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious where they would place the Big Bang. Would that be the expanding and retracting of a day and a night, or is that Brahma's life?
Is the beginning? Okay, Brahma. Let me. The glossary. I will put it. Where is the glossary?
It's the green. It's the green.
Okay.
Well, she was getting that. I think it's pretty easy for me to misunderstand what a Big Bang is. It's not just all the time. Okay.
Brahma.
It's based on something that came before. That's all I was trying to say.
Brahma. The student must distinguish between Brahma, the neuter, and Brahma with an accent on the A, the male creator of the Indian pantheon. The former Brahma or Brahman is the impersonal, supreme, and uncognizable principle of the universe, from the essence of which all emanates and into which all returns, which is incorporeal, immaterial, unborn, eternal, beginningless, and endless. It is all-pervading, animating the highest God as well as the smallest mineral atom. Brahma, on the other hand, the male and alleged creator, exists periodically in his manifestation only, and then again goes into pralaya, disappears, and is annihilated. As these students understand that you were mentioning the Big Bang. That's a moment marking the beginning. And the expansion you also refer to is the manifestation, as in the physical world as we know it. Yes.
But HPB controverts that statement, Big Bang in the Secret Doctrine, saying that the universe is a continuously evolving process, that it develops from inside out, and when it goes into pralaya, its rest period is exactly the same number that you gave, and at the end of that, it comes it comes out again. Now she says the energy that's within is externalized in order for the universe to come about. But she says Big Bang is not a theory to depend on. She controverts it, saying that our universe, the solar system, exists from the previous one. In this philosophy, the moon is the mother of Earth, because humanity developed on the moon chain, and when its energy and the developmental period came to an end, we went into a rest period, pralaya. And during that period, the energy of the moon chain was put out by Fohat into the space, and it developed into the solar system. That's the secret doctrine. It is not mine. And HPB says there's no such thing as Big Bang theory to explain the worlds that come in and out of existence, because it's a continuous process. That nothing exists from nothing is that statement here, that it existed before, and its energy then is transferred into the new system, and then the Pitar fathers, according to the secret doctrine, are the first ones to incarnate and develop the material substance so that humanity can actually incarnate once the forms are built. And it takes millions and millions and millions of years for Earth to develop to the point where the substance can be used to form our physical bodies.
So would it be then kind of a better description to say that when we talk about the breath, the like expansion and contraction, that it's more of active and dormant versus existing and non-existing? Or
it's all of it.
Yeah.
It relates to all of it. When it is Brahma and it breathes out, then that's the beginning of the Manvantra, or the Yuga, or the cycle. And at the end of the cycle, when the breathing is withdrawn and indrawn, then all of the energies, according to this philosophy, there's a manifested logos, which is the energy, and there's then an unmanifested. And at the end of it, she tells us in the secret doctrine that the whole universal is indrawn into the manifested logos, and that is pulled into the unmanifested, and the unmanifested is pulled into the Brahma, and then all is space, and quietude follows. She has a description of it in the secret doctrine. It's very poetic. She describes how everything goes into that quietude again, and then there is no soul, no light, no spirit to see it, feel it, know it. Everything goes quiet.
To begin again.
It's a rest period, which is exactly
Do we
that.
know how long the rest period takes?
Exactly the same as that.
The same amount
Mhm.
of Brahma's life?
Day and night.
Its rest period is exactly the
it's
same.
corresponding-
311.
Yeah, trillion. That's trillion.
No, I think that's 15 figures, isn't it? Is it 311 trillion 40 billion? Yeah, it is. It is.
Trillion.
311
So-
trillion.
It corresponds to our. We spend
That much in rest as well.
Day,
The whole
a
universe.
walk, and half of our day is like a walk, and then half of the time is sleeping. The same with Brahma.
With that. Yeah, but you also explain that there are 4 ages within a Mahayuga, meaning that
Yes,
at the
yes.
end of each phase, we still go into a smaller
But
rest period.
rest period, but it's a cycle within the great
The
cycle.
great cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So at the end of that Krita cycle, we rest. At the end of Trita, we rest. And they are not all separate from one another. They interchange one another.
We
In
have
other words, it comes within Kali Yuga, then the golden age starts somewhere within it. It does not wait for the 432,000 years to expand itself.
Let's say we have spent 5,000 roughly.
A little
Of
bit
the
more
Kali.
than that.
5 2. Okay, 5,200.
Maybe 150.
Yeah.
5,150 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 to this.
150 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a long time
So
to
we
go.
have this to
Contend with.
yeah.
But she does tell
something
us-
like that. Something.
But
like
she
that.
does tell us that it's dependent on humanity as to how we are going to progress. And you didn't mention the zodiacal cycle.
Yes,
She
I
came
didn't
from the
mention that.
Aquarius, Aquarius cycle, which is 2,100 years.
Let's
and
see
she
if I
gave
can
that-
find it.
She gave that impulse to the current in the universe, because I think we're going towards humanity becoming compassionate in our dealings with. I find
Yes.
it so hopeful. I love reading the book because it gives such a light into the universe. She says that we're going towards compassionate living, and that to me is coming into this Kali Yuga, because we cannot wait 400,000 years.
At one point, this student thought that the societies we live on now are it's the common denominator is greed.
Greed,
But greed.
yeah,
Yeah, it's economic.
money
it's,
oriented.
Yeah, working for yourself, individual.
yeah, economic.
Economic and
Gain.
capital gain.
Yeah.
But today it became clear that a small group of good-minded people, compassionate, can make a change.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I think
and
they are. They
this
are.
philosophy, and especially this lecture talking about cycles, we know that there's a beginning and an end of. I'm talking about the smaller cycles. So some event will mark the beginning of a new and better cycle. It gives hope, because when you return, you do not return to the same point, but
It's a
one
spiral.
above. It's
It's a
like
spiral.
a spiral.
It's a spiral. Mhm.
Yeah, it is like a spiral.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a ring, right?
Yeah, but it
But
goes
it will
up
go a little bit up.
higher.
So it goes
Yeah, it's a
like
spiral.
this.
It's
Yeah.
a spiral.
Mhm.
But it gives hope that we are now in the Aquarian age, and that HPV actually gave that impulse to the world. She gave an impulse, and if you can reach it, and then you can attune yourself to that impulse, which is compassionate for the universal existence, for humanity.
There's a question here. Yes.
So I've recently read that there are kinds of natural things you can compare to the zodiac cycles. Like the harvest of certain plants happens during the season of Virgo. and the end of winter and beginning of spring happens at the turn of Pisces. Are there any kind of cosmic natural phenomenon that you can attribute to Krita and Treta and Kali?
I'm not qualified to answer your question, but I like the comment. Maybe Tunja refer someone on the platform to, or a reading to refer to that.
Could you repeat the question, please? Or can you
Can you
repeat your
repeat the
question?
question?
So there are natural cycles on Earth that describe the zodiac cycles. So there are things that happen like Aries is the ram, and I think something happens literally to sheep or to like rams on Earth when that time arises. And it's said that like Virgo is when the harvest happens. Pisces is when winter turns to spring. Are there any sort of cosmic natural signifiers of a cycle of like Krita passing or coming into being?
But the speaker also said that these ages are not separate from one another, and that when humanity is on Earth, all nations are not at the same place. Kali Yuga refers to India and the West, but look at the world itself. How many other continents are there? For instance, if you look at Tibet, Tibetans are a very poor nation, but they're spiritually very, very advanced nation. There is no theft, there's no killing, none of those things that occur in the West occur there. This student read that you can leave your goods on your cart, and the people come and buy it, and you not being there, they still leave the money. They don't steal your stuff. And on TV, we're watching, and now they're saying that there are gangs who go into the stores and fill the cart up and run out of the store. This is the West, compare it to the East. So the speaker said, we're not all at the same place. Now, your question is referring to, look at the period of the cycle, right? 1,728,000 years is the golden age. We're in the dark age, which is the Kali Yuga, which is 400,000 years of it left. But within that, if you look at the world in different nations, you realize that some of them are living the golden age. We are not all at the same place. And how would you then defend the beginning of that Yuga and what happened? We only know the Kali Yuga because Krishna, which is the speaker in this book, Bhagavad Gita, he's instructing Arjuna, he's a student, which is a human soul like us. And he died because there was a real Krishna living who as an avatar on earth, and he died at the beginning of Kali Yuga. That was the indicator of that Yuga's beginning point, his death. But when you go backwards to the others, you have to search for historical facts and what we have been told. But remember, the historical facts are written by those who win, not those who lose. So this philosophy says we owe tremendous debt to people like Paracelsus, like Apollonius of Tyana, Thomas Paine, who was actually behind writing of the independence of the United States. So the facts that Theosophy gives and the facts that history gives are not the same, is what I'm getting at. And you have to use your own judgment to come to a decision as to whether you believe what history tells you or this philosophy tells you.
I will read a paragraph that touches a little bit on the zodiac, doesn't explain or elaborate on what you want to know, but here it goes. Similarly, as the same point moves us through the zodiac, it is brought by opposition into the different constellations that are exactly opposite from century to century while it moves along. During this process, changes take place among men and on earth, exactly signified by the constellations, when those are read according to the right rules of symbology. It is not claimed that the conjunction causes the effect, but that ages ago the masters of wisdom worked out all their problems in respect to men and found in the heavens the means for knowing the exact dates when events are sure to recur, and then by imprinting in the minds of older nations the symbology of the zodiac were able to preserve the record and the prophecy. I hope that clarifies a little bit.
Perhaps you can refer him to the Isis Unveiled. There's a tremendous section, if I may show him. You can probably find it online. Let me find it for you and I'll show you.
But there's other cycles too,
Of
right? Like you were talking about the astrological cycles.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just like one kind of, maybe like the base rudimentary structures
Yes,
of
there are many
evolution.
there are many cycles within this great cycle, like diseases come in cycles, government, civilizations, and many more.
And they happen. They don't all happen separately. They're happening all at the same time, if I understand it correctly.
Some do overlap,
Okay,
yeah.
that's what I mean.
yeah, but they're marked by a moment and a change is noticed.
I think one part of why this question was, are there markers? And I think Tunjai indicated, yes, they are markers. Like
There are
the
markers
death of
also,
Krishna.
also physical facts like
Right.
fire, flood, ice, right?
If I may, I'll show it to you and you can look it up online. And she explains as to what the zodiac stands for.
We will close the lecture and more on cycles can be found on the Ocean of Theosophy, chapter 15. And also, this lecture today was from the final address by William Q. Judge at Parliament of Religions in 1893. And thank you. And the next talk next Sunday is on reincarnation.
Reincarnation, and we're going to have a short break now. And those who can join us, please do so. We have a roundtable study on the Bhagavad Gita and related notes coming up in a few minutes.
Okay, after a short break,
Yeah,
there will be
yeah.
a roundtable discussion on a chapter on the Bhagavad Gita. Thank you.